1001 blank white cards. For their 16th birthday, Sasha asked for an accordion, a manual typewriter, a Soviet flag, and a new Rubik's Cube. They don't know how to play the accordion, but they might have learned if they had received one, which they didn't. They didn't get the flag either, although Sasha and their friend Michael made a cardboard hammer and a sickle not long after and hung it on Sasha's bedroom wall. At the time, they were obsessed with everything having to do with Russia and communism. Their friend Carrie, who took the bus with Sasha that year, remembers Sasha going on and on about it during the bus ride home from school. Sasha, once you get to know them, is very outspoken about things, she explains. That's once you get to know them. When you first meet Sasha, they're quiet and shy. They have chin-length, wavy brown hair, a pale, round face, and thick, dark eyebrows. When they smile, their eyes crinkle into slits. They wear glasses, round, owlish ones, and they don't always look at you straight on. As a child, they were diagnosed with Asperger's, a form of autism, which can make them awkward socially. But it also makes them passionate about their interests, and the passion eventually trumps the shyness. Okay, I just want to pause here for a minute and remind you guys that every single time the word they comes up, remember Sasha uses they, them pronouns, so that when they're talking about they're actually talking about Sasha, right? So Sasha is really into Russia, and this is their interest. Okay. What was Sasha passionate about? What was Sasha passionate about when they were a senior in high school? Buses, cartoons, and the color purple, says Healy, one of Sasha's closest friends. To that, you could add communism, games, the webcomic Homestruck, and live action role-playing or LARPing. Also, the ska pop punk band Sarcasm, which was formed by some kids at Maybeck High School and had once proclaimed Sasha their biggest fan. And veganism, although Sasha disliked the way other vegans on the internet made such a huge deal about it. Sasha's best friend was Michael, a tall, gangly guy with sandy blonde hair and thick glasses who always wore a gray beanie and a green army jacket. Michael and Sasha had been pretty much inseparable since freshman year, when they met while playing the board game Diplomacy. Over time, they formed the nucleus of a tight circle of friends: Sasha, Healy, Michael, Michael's girlfriend, Tia, and another friend named Ian. Ian, blonde, bearded, with a habit of tucking his chin and looking up at you from under his eyebrows, was the one who never stopped talking. Red-haired Healy was the unquellable fountain of excitement who stole people's hats and wore her emotions on her sleeve. Cherub-faced Tia loved costumes and dancing. She and Michael were so close that their friends referred to them as a single person named Tykel. When the two got too cuddly, Sasha would get between them and shout, "Leave room for Jesus!" at the top of her lungs like the chaperone at a Christian prom. Sasha was the brilliant one, the one who blazed through calculus, linguistics, physics, and computer programming with a kind of effortlessness. Not that any of them were slouches when it came to academics. Kids who weren't into school were unlikely to choose Maybeck, a private high school, with roughly 100 kids that rented space on 2 floors of a Presbyterian church in Berkeley. In the tiny classrooms, students gathered around conference tables and critiqued the concept of America as a shiny city on a hill, or compared the writings of Charles Darwin and Ursula K. Le Guin. Okay, so right now what you need to be realizing is that Sasha has a really good group of friends, okay? And that group of friends all goes to a really good high school, okay? And basically all of them really value their academics, okay? So they might not be brilliant, okay? But Sasha is very smart and all of them work hard on their academics, okay? They try in school. Okay, I'm going to start at the middle of page 18. Okay, the middle of page 18 at Teachers Like to Claim. Okay. Teachers like to claim that Maybach didn't have cliques like other high schools, and it was true that the place was a refugee for kids like Healy who had been bullied in middle school. People were nice to each other at Maybach, accepting, but the school still had social groupings, just like any other high school. Artsy kids, stoners, bros. We were the nerdy kids, Ian says. The funny, sort of crazy, nerdy people who played video games and watched anime and read manga. All of them were fascinated by games, board games, video games, card games, role-playing games, trading card games. At lunch and after school, they often gathered at a wooden table in the hallway that people called the hex table, even though, as Ian pointed out, it was an octagon, not a hexagon. They played cards, particularly a game Michael and Sasha had learned from a couple of seniors when they were freshmen. It was called 1001 Blank White Cards, although they mostly just called it index cards. It's a game played with index cards, Sasha explains, not all of which are white, and at this point, very few of which are blank. The deck grew over time, with people proliferating index cards from classrooms whenever they wanted to expand it. If you drew a blank card from the deck, that meant you could fill it in, assigning it a point value and an effect. The more random, the better. Over time, the deck filled up with in-jokes. There was a card featuring the drawing of The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway that resulted in the player losing 2 turns as you read the book and are bored to death. There was a card that required you to talk in a Russian accent, a card that required you to lisp, a card that required you to lisp while talking in a Russian accent. There were cards that required you to play an air guitar solo, speak like an English-dubbed anime character, eat leaves like a giraffe, engage in staring contests, and end every sentence with the word dog. There was a card called Tower of Hats that required you to take everyone else's hats and wear them in a stack. There was a card that said game over, Ian wins. That had been created as a birthday present for Ian. Sasha created a card called A Complete History of the Soviet Union Told by a Humble Worker, arranged to the melody of Tetris, which was the name of a 6.5-minute song by an obscure British comedy band called Pig with the Face of a Boy. Michael and Sasha both obsessed with the song and sang it every opportunity. The effect of the card is you have to sing the song or lose a turn, Sasha explains. Top of page 20. Aside from Ian's birthday card, there was no way to win the game and no real goal. They just played it until people had to go home. By graduation, the stack of index cards was about 2 feet high and had to be carried in a special bag. At the beginning, most of those 1001 white cards were blank. Back then, Sasha was called Luke, and they were referred to as he. Okay. So that's kind of referring to how Sasha was born a male, okay? So Sasha was born as a guy, okay? And their name is Luke, okay? But over time, right, Sasha realizes that they want to be identified using they, them pronouns because they're agender, okay? And that they decided that their new name was going to be Sasha, okay? So that's kind of what's happening right now. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but Sasha has a really, really good group of friends, okay? So we'll keep reading.